definitely want to say hi to Dr. Eastrop. It's been awesome getting to know him. I've had the opportunity to come to a lot of the housing consortium meetings over the last couple of years. And just a little backstory, Habitat for Humanity merged in with the Fuller Center for Housing in Clark County in March of 2021. So we're in our, coming up on our second year anniversary working in Clark County. And we serve Montgomery, Greene, and Clark County. And just it's been amazing and outstanding to be a part of that housing consortium. We were so lucky to be able to come into the county and then get plugged in with that group right away. It's created some amazing connectivity for us and allowed us to build some strong relationships. Also want to say Shannon Meadows has been amazing to work with. We've had a lot of great conversations with her over the last couple of years. But as I was thinking about the work that we're doing and hearing about some of the news coming out of the consortium and also just seeing what reading the newspaper and seeing all the momentum around housing in the Springfield community, I thought, it might be a great idea to come and just introduce ourselves a little bit more formally. And also, I think, talk about our capabilities. What can we do? What could we accomplish through working in the city of Springfield and ultimately with the city of Springfield in a close capacity? Really, when I think about Habitat for Humanity, and I think a lot of people know our brand, they've heard our brand, they've heard the brand Habitat for Humanity. Most people have good feelings about that. Oh, Habitat, great, good job. But really, we have two goals at Habitat for Humanity, or I should say, we have one goal and we accomplish it in two ways. Our goal is a world where everybody has a safe and affordable place to live. That's what we're trying to accomplish every day. We want to have people have the opportunity to achieve safe and affordable housing. And we do that in two ways. One way is our critical repair program. So we perform critical repairs for households, homeowners who are under 80% of the median income. So what that looks like a lot of times is somebody has a house and their income is somewhat limited and they need a new roof. So they need a new roof. How are they going to get it? If they're on, a lot of people we work with are older and their only source of income in many cases is Social Security. Well, if you're on Social Security and you need a new roof and your income is, say, $2,000 a month, how can you afford that new roof? In most cases, you cannot afford a new roof. And so that's one of the primary things we do. We also do furnaces are another thing. Furnaces, water heaters, mobility ramps is another. I put it in your packet there. I think everybody got a packet there. We've done a few projects. And actually, in the last 2 years, we've done 15 projects, critical repair projects. I said primarily for senior citizens in our community. And we have 9 more in the pipeline that we will be executing over the next few months. And actually, just wanted to say thank you because we met with Ross Cunningham yesterday from the city, and they have allocated some funding to assist our critical repair program. So we're really excited about having a closer partnership through that funding and showing what we can do and showing what we could do in a larger scale, and then also seeing if there's additional partnerships that might be able to come out of that. So it's fantastic. What I think about when I think about our critical repair program is if we don't help someone to be able to stay in their house, the term I hear a lot is aging in place, and the homeowner wants to stay in their home. That's where they feel most safe and secure. But if they need a new roof, if they need a mobility ramp, if they need something that's making their house unsafe and they can't afford it, then they're going to have to make some tough choices. And those choices might be moving in with a relative or moving into an assisted living facility or something along those lines. So we're really proud of the work we're doing in the critical repair space. And thank you for giving us a chance to show that more through the partnership that we've worked with the city. And we really want to continue that. And we see that as a big win for the residents in Springfield, and want to continue to do that more. Dr. Eastrop.
David, thank you.
Yeah.
And what you and volunteers within Habitat have done, joined in the Housing Consortium. For those of you that don't know what the Housing Consortium is, it's public and private sector, loosely coupled organization of people who have just come together because they recognized we had needs relative to housing in the city of Springfield. And particularly as the jobs have been developed, it became even clearer to a number of us that we also needed to simultaneously address the housing issue because the two went together. We want people to not only live here and work here, but play here. And in order to have people live here, we got to have homes. And so I appreciate that Habitat has come to the table and joined now, I think it's about 40 or 50 others in the housing consortium. And I also want you to give yourself a plug. If I'm a senior citizen that has some of the needs that you outlined here, what's the number? Say it very slowly. What's the phone number that they should call to try to get on your list?
Sure. The best thing would, if possible, our website is a great resource, DaytonHabitat.org. You can also call in to our main number, 937 586-0860.
Okay,
So,
repeat it
no, I'm
slowly,
sorry.
please.
937-586-0860. So
Okay,
I don't
thank
call
you.
I don't call myself too often, but that is our
I understand.
that's our main line number. And just ask for the critical repair department. We have a team of folks that manages that. We actually have a gentleman who works exclusively in Clark County to manage our critical repair projects here. And then we have a gentleman who oversees the entire program, and he works out of our Dayton office. So the gentleman in Clark County, he works out of our Springfield office, which is based out of our Restore on Durr Road that opened earlier this year. So that's been an amazing win for our organization and is already extremely profitable and bringing financial resources back to our organization. So we really appreciate that.
You tell us a little about your store, and it's located
Yeah,
on Durr Road.
On Durr Road, across the street from the Kroger's up there, and there's a hardware store, Schuler's Bakery, that kind of shopping plaza
Okay.
there that is located. And yeah, it's open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Does close at 3 p.m. on Saturday. And people can donate merchandise there.
Open to the public.
It's open to the public, absolutely. They can donate, they can shop. All the proceeds that we are able to capture from the store go right back into our mission and right back into our program to allow people to achieve safe and affordable housing. So it's been a big win. We are a little bit, I don't say pleasantly surprised about how it's been received by the community. It's really busy. We're getting lots of donations. So I know there's been some other entities in that space where we are located. But so weren't sure how it would come off, but it's come off really well. And we just had record sales last month and far exceeded our expectations for what would be, kind of spun off as far as profits.
Well, I had some full cans of paint that I hadn't used,
Okay.
and I donated them to you.
Oh, thank
Is that the kind of thing you're looking for in donations?
Yeah, paint is always a little tricky. I don't want to
Yeah.
say, I don't want to.
This was unopened.
Okay, yeah, I think that's the key to the paint is it has to be unopened. Furniture, tools, I see bikes up there. We have playground sets for sale that we actually I plugged to Lowe's here in the community. They seem to be we seem to be getting things from them on a weekly basis, things that they can't sell or is kind of last season supply, things of that nature. So Lowe's has been a great partner for us. But yeah, and we also do pickups. So if people need, have a couch or a furniture or appliance or something like that, that they would, can't bring it to us, we will come to them and pick that up.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. With that, I was mentioning kind of the two things that we specialize in when it comes to housing. One is the critical repair program, and we're really excited about that work. The other that I wanted to touch on tonight was our new homeownership program. And I think people hear the brand Habitat and hey, you guys do housing. But one of the reasons I wanted to come and talk is I don't think people quite understand how we do housing, how we help families achieve the opportunity to become a new homeowner, to buy their own house. And right now we are building 2 houses in the city of Springfield, one on South Bell and another on West Perrin Avenue. if you see in your packet there, Tara will be purchasing our house that is being built on Perrin Avenue in Springfield, and she's been amazing. She's a single mother, and she has executed over 275 hours of volunteerism with our organization. She has taken over 60 hours of educational classes with us to help her prepare for the responsibility of home ownership. She's also saved $1,400, which is going to be her first year of taxes and insurance escrow on when she purchases that house in early next year. And we're going to sell that house to her for a 0% interest mortgage payment. So she's not going to pay interest when she buys that home. She's going to pay principal. She's going to pay, we're going to appraise the house and we're going to sell the house to her for that appraised value. And then she's going to buy it, but with no interest attached to the home loan. So when you sell somebody a home with no interest attached, it increases their buying power. It allows them, Katerra makes between 30 and 60% of the median income level. So if you look in your packet there, you can kind of see the income levels that we work with. It's in the middle packet on there is their home in your future. So I think Katerra has 4 children. She's a family of 5. So she makes somewhere between $24,000 and $48,000 a year. Getting a traditional home loan could be challenging for her, especially with a full family and inflation and interest rates and all that. But she's partnered with us. She's worked really, really hard over the last couple of years to do that sweat equity to help to build homes for other families that are in our program. And also, like I said, to take those classes. I put a list of our curriculum in there. Again, about 60 hours worth of curriculum that all of our homeowners have to achieve before they can buy a Habitat house. And she's going to get the chance to, like I said, purchase that house for the 0% interest mortgage payment, making homeownership accessible and affordable for her. I just wanted to come and kind of share those nuances with you. Like I said, I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, Habitat, they do housing, but they don't quite understand, how we do it. And they may think that we give houses away, or there's people that we find that, hey, take this house. It's not like that at all. It's a true partnership. They work really hard and they buy the house. We're in no way, shape, or form a giveaway program. We are a program that allows people to help themselves and to achieve their dream of becoming a homeowner through their hard work, perseverance, and partnership. We are 40 years old. We're going into our 40th year in existence next year. And we have built over 400 houses in the region over those 40 years. And the one thing I just want to say is we want to build more houses. We want to help more people like Katerra. And especially when you think about workforce housing. And most of our houses, if you see in your packet there, behind Katerra's photo there, I put some examples of the houses that we build and the plans. So Katerra's house is the AND plan. We have 10 different plans of houses that we can build at Habitat. So I put 3 of those in your packet there just to give you a sense of the type of housing that we build. It's all energy efficient. Many of the people that buy our houses are surprised by the energy bill that they get because our houses are all Energy Star rated. So yeah, we're really trying to help people and achieve their dream. I think housing is a topic that can be challenging right now for some folks, but we like to think that we've got a great solution for people that are willing to lean into the partnership and truly give of themselves and work hard to achieve a goal that they want to achieve, which is to provide a better life for them and their family and achieve that goal of becoming a homeowner. With that, I did want to mention too, like I said, we've been in the community for a couple of years now. We've created some wonderful partnerships already. A few of those in your packet, you'll see we've got a great partnership going with Cliff Park Schools, where they are providing some students to work on our homes and providing them trade skills so that they can move out of their program and into the workforce. So that's been phenomenal. And there's an article in your packet that speaks to that. We've also got some great partnerships with the Craybill Family Foundation. The Rocking Horse Center is referring clients to us, especially for that critical repair piece. Springfield Foundation, Turner Foundation, Wittenberg University students volunteer with us on a very regular basis. Also, Key Bank, Right Pack Credit Union, and Federal Home Loan Bank out of Cincinnati is a very strong partner of ours. So So we're really excited to be working in Springfield and working in Clark County. We've got some strong relationships with other municipalities, and we want to create the same sort of relationship in the city of Springfield.
Thank you so
Yeah, no
much.
problem. Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
Commissioners, that's the only work session item we have tonight, so we thank Dave and can adjourn.
Hey, is there a motion to adjourn the work session?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded, clerk call the roll.
Dr. Estra,
Yes?
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes. The city commission agenda public hearing, scheduled 6:45 is called to order. City commission will hold a public hearing. The hearing item is a public hearing held at City Hall. Consider the adoption of proposed appropriation ordinance for operations of the city calendar year 2023. Meeting is called to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estra,
Here?
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Phillips, Mr. Rue.
Here.
Mr. Copeland.
Has proper legal notice of this meeting been given?
Notice of a public hearing to consider the budget for the calendar year 2002 was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation city on November 23rd, 2000. Attached to is a true and correct copy of such legal notice.
I move that the communication be ordered, received, recorded in the minute, and filed.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Estra,
Yes?
Mr. Copeland,
Yes. Staff report.
Shut your mic down.
Tonight, we're going to be talking about the 2023 budget. There we go. Thank you. All right,
Does it all. He does it
you're a
all.
tech wizard.
Does it all.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners. Tonight, we're here to talk about the 2023 budget. Hard to imagine we're already almost to 2023. As you're aware, this process started back in May with the tax budget, and we kind of started to project our revenues for the year. We put the budget together over a long process, including departmental meetings and many hours spent developing this budget. We then presented it to you in detailed format on the 15th and 16th of November. What we'll have tonight is a high-level overview of that budget and what to expect for 2023. So the first and probably most important area of the budget is our general fund revenues. General fund is where the bulk of our expenses occur, and it's kind of our lifeblood, and where we pay for the lion's share of expenses for the city operation. We're projecting that next year will be a little over $55 million for the revenue in this fund. That'll be up 0.8% over the 22 revised budget. You might say only 0.8%. Last year for 2022, we had reimbursements from other funds, in particular for the NOMC building that you've heard about of over $1 million. So that accounts for the increase only being 0.8%. Our 2023 income tax receipt, however, will be up 5.3% when you compare it to our 2022 revised budget. I think that's a testament to the economic activity that's happening in Springfield and the track that we're on as a community. If you look at how those revenues are distributed, 81% comes from income tax, our lifeblood. Talked many times before, we're greatly appreciative of the citizens of Springfield for giving us an additional 0.4%, and it is the lifeblood of our general. We do get some revenue from the local government fund, about $2.9 million. Services and charges come from basic services, inspections, that sort of thing that we charge services. Fines and forfeitures come to court. And then basically the bulk of all other is reimbursements that we have from other funds back to the general fund.
Mark, before you leave that slide, I think it's important to note, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that income tax is what people pay locally. That's not what the state given back to the city.
That is correct. It
Okay.
is income tax generated on economic activity in Springfield.
Okay. The second point I want to raise is that piece that's sort of red or hot pink, depending on what you see, where it says local government fund and state share taxes. That's what we're getting from the state. And that used to be a much bigger piece. Am I correct?
That is correct. The local government fund used to generate, along with the state tax, somewhere over $5 million, down to under $3 million at the point. It also includes a small share of cigarette and liquor tax, but the lion's share of what we get here is from the local government fund, and that has declined significantly over the last 10 to
So at one point, it would have been as high as 6%, probably.
I'd say
More or
roughly,
less.
yes.
I
And
think that's
it was
important.
it was part of a smaller piece of the pie too, so it was even a bigger percentage.
Yeah, and the reason I want to point this out, good people of Springfield hadn't made the decision to approve that income tax levy. This city would be in a world of hurt, a world of hurt. We cannot thank the citizens enough for doing what we had to have done to keep the city afloat in the face of the state reduction.
That is-
And people of Springfield stepped up and did what needed to be done to keep this community moving forward. And I cannot say, and I know I speak for everyone up here, thank you enough to the people of Springfield for doing what had to be done to make our community remain viable.
I want to agree with what you said. The loss of local government funds was a major hit that the state legislature took away from us. And the people of Springfield allowed us. Thank you, citizens of
Okay, so we'll move along to the next one, which is pretty much a graphic representation of what Dr. Estrop just said. Shows how our revenues have grown because of the income tax revenue that we've received. Look at back in 2009, we were just a little over $37.5 million. We're at 55.4 for general fund revenues, almost 47.8 that time. On the flip side of that is what we're going to spend. That constitutes personnel as well as supplies and contract services. Procure for the city, do projects within the city. Those expenditures for 2023 will be $56,049,070, and that assumes full staff. Talked about that many times in the fact that when we create this budget, we assume that all the personnel in this budget are fully staffed the entire year. That usually does not happen because we're always in the process of hiring people. So that's a very conservative number when you look at it. But when we presented the 2022 original budget to you, we projected a slight operational surplus, and we're expected to use about $2.2 million in reserves 2022 balance budget. And you may say, well, that's an awfully big number. What are you doing there? Well, we are making sure that we've got investments in infrastructure throughout the city, including upgrading some of our computer systems, as well as paying for some additional roads, and this is stuff we've moved from the general fund out into other funds. Our 2023 budget is presented slight operational deficit, $168,000, again, where we are trying to stay ahead of the game as far as our infrastructure goes and providing services to the citizens of Springfield. City was actually able to increase the reserves in 2021, even though we budgeted deficit. That's through relatively conservative fiscal management. As the slide says, we're using those reserves to continue investments in infrastructure and equipment.
Wouldn't you say some of the reason why we're running at this is because there's been an increase in a lot of prices that we usually, I mean, a huge increase, am I right?
Huge increase.
So for us to continue to provide what we've always provided, we're gonna operate at this next, we pass
Yes,
this.
and we have the reserve. able to
Right.
Weather
So in
that
a-
storm.
So in a way, you've been planning for this for a few years.
Absolutely.
For us, that,
Yep.
thanks.
We talk about fund balance here. Even with that slight deficit at the end of through 2023, we'll be at $9.5 million in our projected for our rainy day fund. That's about almost 17% of our expenditures. Government Finance Officers Association recommends that you have a minimum goal of 16.7, exceeding that. Back in the day when it was a lot tougher for us to balance the budget, the commission's goal was 10%. We are well above that. This fits with the city's strategic plan, continuing to maintain strong city operations and financial stability. And, it makes our viability across the entire organization easier to maintain.
I think it's important to understand that if the economy takes a dip, having these reserves as back is just part of our strategy, but an important part. Because we have certain services, particularly first responder services, that are critical to the operation of the city. But just because it's been approved in the budget, management, the administration, has control over the ability to decide, do we really need to make that purchase right now? Is it something, if the economy goes south, that we can say, well, we'll wait a little bit longer? So management does have some control over expenditures coming out of the budget, just like you do at home. But the important thing is now we've got a rainy day fund that will help us if those bumps are relatively small. And boy, is that nice to have, as opposed to looking down a gun barrel of no reserves and the revenue expenditure ratio is out of whack. You're spending more than you're taking in with no reserves or very few reserves.
Right. And the way I view the budget from a finance director perspective is that it's a roadmap. Roadmap for where we plan to go in 2023, and that can be adjusted if we have to do a detour for some reason, whether the economy is better than expected, worse than expected, adjust that. Again, what this lays out is a roadmap for us.
Any further questions or comments from Commissioner?
We're still rolling, if I may.
Okay, go for it.
And you might ask, where does this money go that when we're going to spend this $56 million? The lion's share of it goes to public safety and municipal court. Public safety includes police, fire, and dispatch. And then municipal court, which is 9%, also it takes in both the judicial side and the clerk side. Neighborhood services, that would be engineering, inspections, community development. NTPRD and our bus system take up about 1% of that. And then the administrative functions would be city manager's office, finance, legal, facilities, IT. That's accounts for about 20.
If you don't know what NPPRD is, that's our park system, our support of it.
And then operations and staff. Police staffing is budgeted at 130 sworn officers, and that includes Safe Street Task Force. Our fire division is authorized at 130 positions for 2023. The charter requires us to have 127, so we're over that number. Beginning in 2023, we made an accounting change for those people who follow closely, and we've moved the fire spending into the fire enhancement fund where it had been split previously between general fund and the fire enhancement fund. That's a nuance of budgeting, but makes for a little different looking budget than previously. Our overall staffing for the city will be at 577.5 FTEs for 2023 versus 567.5 for 2022. The two major changes there were the additional 3 firefighters, and then we took over the fixed base operator operations at the airport, and that accounted for additional 4 positions. This still is substantially less for 15.
If you could go back, Mark, please. Sorry about that. I wasn't fast enough.
There we
The FTE stands for full-time equivalent positions. So if you take 2 people who are working half-time, put them together, that's a full-time equivalent position. I want to talk about police staffing because we have budgeted what we need to budget, but we don't have that many police on the street right now, right?
Yes, Commissioner. So we budget at 130 sworn officers. If you recall, our charter minimum is 124. With the passage of the levy that Mark referred to, that allowed us to hire 6 additional officers to push us to our budgeted number, authorized strength of 130. We sit today at 118. We're facing what communities across the country are facing with just the national rhetoric. Not a lot of people are going into law enforcement, public safety, police careers. And so we are trying a lot of unique and new things to try to attract employees and to recruit new officers into our community. That includes multiple testing periods. We used to test once, maybe twice a year. We're on our 4th one, I believe, right now in 2022 alone. We're looking at the possible reestablishment of like a cadet program or something similar to start building a pipeline specifically locally of individuals interested in law enforcement. And so we're really between the police division, our human resources, and just the organization as a whole, we're looking at new, unique ways to try to attract and recruit. Because one of the things we do not want to sacrifice is quality over quantity. We need good quality officers serving our community. And so just to get our numbers up, we're not going to just take anyone. We want to make sure that we're having good quality officers in these jobs. So we're trying new things. So I encourage those. Right now, we're getting ready to put out another testing period. I think that opens up maybe first part of next week. So apply, take the test, and consider becoming a police officer in Springfield, Ohio.
Anything else from Commissioner? Anyone in the audience want to speak to this?
We still got a couple more slides to go.
Fine.
Right. Okay, we'll move it along here. Our permanent improvement fund is where we budget our capital spending items, and we're planning on spending about $9.5 million on that in 2023, of which $3.5 million will be on the neighborhood streets program. A couple other highlights include purchasing 8 new police cruisers, 2 prisoner transport vans, a couple ambulances. We also are planning on spending $175,000 on capital improvement Park. There's noteworthy projects that are in the permanent improvement budget include the repaving of Durr Road, a number of airport projects, and we continue to put money in repairs and maintenance building. Utility funds, our water and sewer and stormwater utilities combined we have committed more than $100 million in the last 5 years to improving the infrastructure in our. That includes the high rate treatment facility out at the wastewater treatment plant, the Erie Express sewer, continued neighborhood upgrades, including, trying to remove lead water services, Eastern Pressure District, about a $9 million project. And then we've also budgeted stormwater improvement projects, make sure that take care of stormwater issues that we have in light of additional rainfall that everybody has been hearing about in the news. You have passed some previous rate increases, one at the beginning of 2023, one at the beginning of 2024. This budget does not see the need for additional rate increase beyond what budget. Again, we go back to thanking our citizens. We made some promises and we've tried to keep those promises. We're having a neighborhood streets program of at least $2 million, adding the Safe Streets Task Force, reopening the Johnny Lytle substation, making sure that, again, we set some money aside for a rainy day fund and investing in equipment. Yeah. And then the last slide that I'd like to show, talk a little bit or speak to our neighborhood street paving program. So it highlights the work that we've done and will do on the neighborhood streets over the last 2008 planned 23 streets. As you can see, we're making progress. We haven't hit them all. We know that, but we're trying to make headway. And like this slide, you can see we're making. So that concludes my presentation tonight. Overview of the budget. Happy to answer questions that you have. Things you'd like to know.
Questions? Okay, now the audience can respond if they would like to. Anyone? That was going on so long, I just moved things along, but nobody wanted to go with us. Okay?
Yeah.
Is there a motion to adjourn the hearing?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded, clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrom,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes. The next meeting is another public hearing. Classes. The purpose of this hearing is the public hearing in the city commission forum 655. We missed that by a little bit, didn't we? On Tuesday, December 2nd, following topic and can be viewed live on YouTube. The hearing items consider of the proposed change in zoning for 7.81 acres located parcel number, long number, 3400600000 31-1-2039, 1030 McCain Ave. From RS5, low density, single family residential district to agricultural. Clerk, call the roll.
Let me just go ahead and I'll read the legal ad. We'll use the prior roll. Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change of zoning for 7.81 acres located at 1030 McCain Avenue from RS5 low density single family residential district to A agricultural district was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general service. Attached here too is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on October 2.
I move that the communication be ordered received, recorded in the minutes and filed.
Second.
Moved and seconded, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Staff report.
Good evening, everyone. The applicant is requesting to rezone from a residential zoning district to an agriculture zoning district. The applicant wishes to provide surrounding neighborhood and community residents with opportunities to urban agriculture, community education and outreach, and access to food. The subject parcel has had a dwelling unit and a meeting hall in the past. A majority of uses described in application indicate agriculture uses such as growing fruit trees, gardens, vegetable patches, keeping of chickens, and honeybee hives. The current parcel was combined recently to accommodate all proposed uses. The current zoning of the parcel RS5 does not allow for expansion of urban agriculture uses as proposed by applicant. Under the proposed agriculture zoning district, agriculture use is listed as a principal permitted use, while a greenhouse high tunnel use will be permitted as an accessory use. If there are any farm animals or animals in general present on site or will be introduced on site, they will have to comply with zoning code requirements. A list of requirements is stated within the staff report and is as follows. Each parcel can have up to 2 hives that are registered with Department of Agriculture and are to be placed in the rear yard only. Hives would be screened by a 6-foot solid wall, fence, dense vegetation, or any combination of these. All other structures for all other livestock, such as a coop, pen, shed, fenced area, shall not be less than 100 feet from surrounding residential districts. The parcel is surrounded by a residential district to the south and the east, and is surrounded by green space and park district to the north and the west. Since the parcel is approximately 8 acres, keeping of chickens or any other non-carnivorous animals is permitted. The Clark County Comprehensive Plan identifies future character area as traditional neighborhood low intensity. Return reports from city staff state no objection and recommend approval. The city code enforcement division has recommended denial with comment that current zoning should remain as it is, as the parcel is surrounded by residential properties. But since the intended use of parcel is less intense and will benefit the surrounding neighborhood, it will be harmonious in nature, and the overall staff recommendation is to approve the request to rezone from RS5 to Agricultural Zoning District. The request was approved unanimously by the City Planning Board. There were no objections received from the public and at the Planning Board meeting. Staff has received 3 letters of support from neighbors, neighborhood associations, and other stakeholders. And copies of the letters are in front of the commissioners for review. Thank you.
Questions or comments from Commissioner?
Have you received any objections at all at any time in the process?
No objections were received.
And if you could go back to the previous slide, please. The G stands for government or green space. It's owned by the school district. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, it's a open space, parks and school district.
Okay, thank you.
And just to make note, since we recently heard a request to change zone from residential to agriculture, the difference is the amount of acreage here, it's over 7 acres, which was definitely an approved amount of acreage. Correct, Kay?
Yes.
Council Commissioners? Anyone in the audience want to speak to this matter? There being no comment, or motion to adjourn the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Well, we're now actually ready to have the meeting of the city commission. Leave. Clerk will call the roll for that meeting.
Dr. Estrom,
Here?
Mr. O'Neill,
Here.
Ms. Phillips, Mr. Rue.
Here.
Mr. Copeland.
Here, please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Our God, we're grateful for this opportunity of celebration during this part of the year. Help us to celebrate the real meaning of events instead of just having a bunch of presents. Help us make good decisions for the people of Springfield this evening. In your name we pray. Amen.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion
So moved.
Second.
seconded. Is there comment? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrom,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes. Clerk will proceed with first readings by title only.
Accepting the application for annexation of certain territory, 10.833 acres less in Moorfield Township, commonly known as 3470 Middle Annexation Area, to the city of Springfield, Ohio.
That's the second reading.
Oh, I'm sorry. This new software is kind of getting the best of me. Okay, let me back.
Just point of explanation, the city has transferred over to a new software, how we run meetings with, how Jill's reading them, so she's usually all over these details, but we're going to start again with first readings,
Let me
right?
try- Yes,
Okay.
yes. Let me try one more. Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 7.81 1030 McCain Avenue, Springfield, Ohio, from RS5 low single residential district to A agricultural. Authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Hybrid Consulting LLC for professional consulting services for an amount of $24,000 for the period of January 1, 2000, December 31, 2000.
I just would be interested in hearing from the staff in terms of what is included in the contract with Hybrid Consulting. What services are we receiving? What kind of consulting?
Yeah, so commissioners, Highbridge helps and works with us on all federal and state related matters,
Okay.
legislative issues, challenges. They were involved in helping connect us on the Tremont City Barrel Field. They're just a resource as we kind of weigh the different pieces of legislation that ultimately impact and affect us here at the local level. They help stay on top of that, help us with those services. They've actually provided some great assistance too on helping out with some issues and challenges with grocery land and helping them through some matters at the state level and so forth. So they've been a great resource for staff.
State and federal government, all the help.
Yes.
Still second. Accepting the application for annexation for certain break 10 last spring and more commonly known as the 3470 Middle Urbana Road annexation, city of Springfield, Ohio.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Just like staff to speak to this annexation a little bit, please.
Yes, Commissioners, this is a property located just north of Emmanuel Way off of Middle Urbana. It's currently farmland. A developer, Mid-Ohio Development, is working towards the annexation and redevelopment of this property with a proposed condo development. That would have to go through rezoning at some future date and time after this annexation would be approved and it officially comes into the city. But this would be an opportunity for another residential development in our community.
Anyone else? Anyone in the audience? Or call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
authorize the city to purchase agreement for the real estate purchase of real property located at 7 West North Street, vacant lot at West Street, Full Bike Hotels Incorporated, Springfield Corp. For an amount not to exceed $1,700,000, authorizing the city manager, law director, and director of finance to act and execute all documents they consider necessary to fulfill the city's obligations under said purchase agreement and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Yes. I think we need more information on this plan. I know there have been issues raised about what use are we going to make of this? Why are we purchasing this? Are we paying too much for it? So I think we need to ask for a pretty full explanation of what's going on with the property.
Yes, Commissioners. I'll take part of that, and then I'll also have our Assistant Law Director, Jason Irick, talk a little bit about the acquisition piece of that. So what is actually known as the Villager Inn in our community, this would authorize the purchase of. Backing up, as you know, one of the unforeseen consequences of COVID-19 was the increase in displaced individuals and families within our community and communities across the country. We're not the only ones dealing with an increase in those that have been unhoused because they've lost their homes for a variety of different reasons, and that has put a strain on the infrastructure capacity, again, in communities across the country. Springfield's not immune to that either. And so we've seen a large increase, not only in individuals that have been displaced, but also families, families with children, single parent with kids or dual parents with kids. And we do not have the adequate infrastructure to support that. And so back in November of 21, the commission, along with the county commission, created a homelessness task force and really put emphasis on developing short-term and long-term goals and objectives and strategies around this issue that our community was facing. And so we've been working diligently as a team at both the city and county level of trying to find and build the infrastructure, the capacity necessary to address this issue. And so one of the things that we looked at, and again, one of the issues that we had was specifically with the families that we were seeing becoming displaced in our communities. So we had infrastructure, congregate sheltering like Hartley in Norm's Place, Hartley House in Norm's Place there on High Street. That will continue to operate as the single men, single women facilities in our community, more congregate. They've actually just went through a complete renovation. And so able to work with Sheltered Inc., our partners here, to improve those facilities, to address some of the concerns with congregate sheltering, and to provide that. But we didn't have adequate capacity, again, to work with the displaced families and the children that we've seen in this community. And so the opportunity of what the Villager provides is it provides us the ability to have more permanent supportive housing for individuals, some of the most vulnerable in our community as it relates to the families with their children. And it provides us the capacity in terms of rooms. The Villager has potentially up to 140 rooms currently. Depending on the remake and remodeling and renovation of that facility, again to equip and handle the capacity issues as it relates to these displaced families. That may be less, but it provides us capacity that we currently don't have in this community. It provides us the ability to serve those that are in need and provide them more of a permanent supportive option than just shelter. So I know it's been coined a homeless shelter, and we all have what homeless shelter means to us. But what this is this allows us, again, to provide the capacity and the infrastructure to support what we're seeing, the unforeseen consequences of COVID, with more families, again, with children, that have been displaced from their homes. And the villager provides that adequate capacity for us. Jason, I'll have,
Before you leave
Yeah.
that, you use the term congregate. Would you explain that?
yeah, congregate sheltering is the typical sheltering that we think of where it's a kind of more large mass open area where, multiple people are served, maybe cots placed throughout and stuff. So there's multiple individuals staying in one space.
COVID
And COVID really
put it down.
showed that congregate sheltering is not a
All
great alternative. Again, what the villager provides is it provides that opportunity for more permanent supportive housing so that they can have, these families, these kids can have some privacy too, as we work with them and case manage to help them get back on their feet, help them get to, hopefully out of that permanent supportive shelter into even more permanent shelter for themselves. And so the villager really provides a lot of opportunities as it relates to that because we currently don't have that in our infrastructure. We don't have that, available to help and assist. And we, the city's not taking this on our own. We would work with our housing partners in the community to help administer and operate this facility.
We're not going into the hotel or shelter.
We are not
business.
going into the hotel or shelter business. We are working with partners that are equipped and professionalized to provide that service in our community. And again, the villager provides that as one opportunity. Is it going to be the end all be all solution? No, we're going to have to continue to work for other opportunities and other solutions as well. But the villager goes a long way in helping address a need that we have in our community. And, a lot of concern again about homeless shelter. It's not going to look, actually, there's going to be improvements made to it. And it's going to look very similar to what it looks like today and how it serves today in the sense that it's the individual rooms and stuff to provide, again, more permanent supportive housing. So it's not going to be an open congregate shelter. It's going to be the individual rooms just like it is today, as it appears with a motel. But it provides, again, a resource that we currently don't have in our community to provide service, again, to some of our most vulnerable families.
And I think the other issue is how safe of an option this is. When you have congregate shelter, you have lots of crime within that shelter that just can't be kept away. And I think ultimately, as from a legal expense side, this is going to actually save money in the future because if we just had congregate sheltering, then we would be having a lot of staffing and officers having to attend to the safe needs of displaced individuals. So again, I go back to your compassionate effort to do this right and to use the appropriate funding, which I want you to speak to, I think Jason is, on where is this money coming from?
So commissioners, we're afforded this opportunity to address this matter in our community because of the federal dollars that have come down. The American Rescue Plan dollars make this an opportunity for us to be able to utilize those types of funds to support a purchase such as this. And so if you look at the ARP legislation, one of the big pieces of the ARP legislation was a focus on the homelessness issue that was going on, again, not just in Springfield, Ohio, but across the country. And so, but for that influx of money into the community, we would be, frankly, still struggling to find solutions to increase our capacity to address this issue. Jason, if you want to talk on the appraisal side and how we got to the purchase price and so forth, and I know one of the questions is there's a recent transaction on the auditor site that shows 500,000. If you could just explain that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Initially, I'll touch base on the procurement process, negotiation process, where we got to where we are today, and then I can answer any specific questions you guys have. We began the process probably in June or July. We obtained a commercial appraisal on the villager structure as well as the property that it currently sits on. That appraisal we did through Martin Wood, who does a vast majority of our appropriation appraisals when we do roadway projects. Martin Wood gave us an appraisal number at $1.7 million for the villager property and the villager structure. We additionally tacked onto our purchase agreement the vacant lot adjacent to the villager at no additional cost to the city, as well as included furniture, fixtures, and equipment currently in the hotel to come with the hotel during the purchase process. The initial owners of the hotel where it sits now live in Michigan. It's a Springfield Inns company, Springfield Inns Incorporated. They're in Fremont, Michigan. The transaction that's currently showing on the auditor's website of $500,000 is from Fremont Properties to Springfield Inns. They're essentially the same entity. They're owned by the same individuals. The current real owner of the Villager Inn, which is the entity that we will be buying the facility from, is Paul Patel here locally. He operates under the name of Pool Bahai Incorporated Hotels. They bought that property on a land installment contract in 2014 in the amount of what I believe is $1.4 million. That land installment contract was due to expire in 2028. And essentially that $500,000 transaction is the remaining balance on that land contract from Springfield Inns that they're transitioning through themselves that we will pay off in the total amount that we're acquiring for the process on how we got to that price was a commercial appraisal. That appraisal is very thoroughly detailed. We have it available if anybody needs to see it. And we, moving forward, we got a very good price and a very good outcome for the facility.
Thank you.
I have a card from Sherry Walls. Do you want to speak to this matter? Please go to the microphone.
Good evening, Mayor, and everyone here at the Commission. My name is Sherry Walls. I live at 1608 West North Street.
Microphone down by your,
Thank you.
Is that better?
thank you.
Okay, thanks. Good evening. My name is Sherry Walls. I live at 1608 West North Street. I live in the West North Street residential neighborhood across from the Villager Inn. As a neighborhood, we are concerned about the change in the use of the building that we plan to vote on tonight. No notice of this possible change in the use of the building was sent to the residents in this area, which was disappointing. I know several of my neighbors are here this evening. I don't know if they want to speak or just here, but we do appreciate how our neighborhood has been. We only learned about this from the local news. I have spoken with several neighbors whose ages range from the late 20s to the mid 60s. One neighbor has lived here less than a year, some 15, 25, and nearly 40 years. All want to see the shelter for displaced families be a good neighbor. That is what we're really looking for. Not in my backyard. We want them to be a good neighbor. There have been some turbulent times in the past with previous owners of the inn, which we don't want to repeat. Loud, noisy groups of people fighting in the street, in the parking lot at 2 a.m, a fatal stabbing. The current owner has done a lot to alleviate this. There are still issues: drug overdoses, domestic violence, somewhat frequent squad and police activity. We realize that can happen anytime you have groups of people living in a small area. We realize, like society at large, there will be a wide range of individuals coming through the facility, some staying a while, some a longer period of time, some needing a new job, some needing their first job, and most going to make their own way. We want to continue to make our own way also peacefully. What can you tell us regarding the ongoing safety, security, and ability to enjoy our neighborhood as you are simply passing the ownership on to another entity? I have reached out to Shutter Inc. and the housing coordinator at the health district, but have not received a call back yet from Ms. Bradley or Ms. Komatsis. I apologize if I mispronounced her name yet. Lastly, we are asking, what assurance can you give us that the property will be in the hands of people who have concern, not only for the welfare and the comfort of those who live at the inn, but also the welfare and comfort of the residents of West North Street? Thank you.
Thank you.
And like I said, there are several other neighbors here tonight. I appreciate that they came.
I think I have two other people who want to speak on this matter. Ernie Houston, please go to the microphone. And by the way, try to limit what you say to about 3 minutes. Name, address for the record.
My name is Ernie Houston. I'm a member of the West End Neighborhood Association, and I am a homeowner. I believe we all can agree that the homeless people and situation is a problem. That's probably all we're going to agree upon right now. I also believe that the homeless shelters make lousy neighbors. I live 6 blocks from the location of the experiment of the tent city. This is a very good example of how bad things can get. Instead of tents, you're putting massive amounts of people in a building. Village Inn, according to their site, has 80 rooms. If they put 2 to a room, that means 160 people in one location. The focus has been finding emergency housing for the homeless. It did not seem like there has been any thought on the short and long-term effects and the negative disruptions that happen when the homeless shelters are put into a family neighborhood of homeowners. When you vote, please ask yourself, how would you feel if you had 160 homeless people moving into your neighborhood? Thank you.
Thank you. No, first, you're next. No, not now. Is it Petra McGlinnan?
Yep, Deb McLendon, and I live at 1219 West Jefferson Street. And I am the president of our West End Neighborhood Association. And so, yes, we have brought some folks here tonight that, again, we only heard about this when we read the newspapers on the 27th. And that was quite shocking. And then, of course, I think Monday it was, we found out that the Executive Inn on Plum Street down by the Wendy's and the new hospital is also a possibility for the same situation. So I have put some questions together that I'm just going to read because I know I only have 3 minutes. So let's start off with, has there been a building inspection? Because again, that place looks like a dump. I drove around it the other day. And I'm sure you did, or you would have not been able to secure the funds and have this closing that you want to have before Christmas. Are there any health or safety issues that would need to be resolved? You know, plumbing, electric. If you look at the reviews for the motel over the last 4 or 5 years, it seems like it's full of roaches and bed bugs. The people that run that place have not cleaned the mattresses or replaced blankets. So good luck with those problems. And if there are these issues, how will those be funded? Does that come out of 1.7 billion? What are the plans for this empty lot? The sale includes the furnishings. Does that mean you're going to be putting in new mattresses or the same seedy, nasty ones that have been there when we have rent for the hour? The linens, are they usable? If not, how's that being replaced? What about roofing? Has that been checked out? What is the real valuation of the property per our auditor? Does Springfield Police have enough staff to cover the emergency medical calls to this property with all of these people? How are these utilities to be paid? What is the long-term plan for this facility and their clients? How are they to be fed? Who's going to clean this facility? What about laundry? You know, what is the carrot that's going to get these people to move in? When I came up here and spoke about Tent City, I was told that even though there are better solutions, that was not the job of the folks that are sitting here, to encourage them into a better situation. What about criminal history of clients? Is that a factor to be considered? And again, where will the dollars come to maintain this property down the road? Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Tom Prendergast. I'm going to preface my remarks by saying that I'm sure there's a real concern in our community about folks that need permanent housing. But my concern is the price that we're paying for the real estate. I'd like to probe a little bit behind the appraisal. is the appraiser a local appraiser or from out of town? What kind of comps did he use in the appraisal, or was it a cash flow appraisal? Where does, where, we're gonna pay 1.7 million. And in my conversation with Brian this afternoon, he told me that 73 of the units are move-in ready. I understood from that conversation that we would spend $0 on that 73. If there's 140, we got another 70 units that need some, I don't know what that something is, but what is going to be the ultimate cost to rehab the other 70 units if they need rehab? The auditors, Brian told me the auditor's office had it valued at $800,000. I realize that that is not the appraisal of the property. However, it's an indication of where values are. And it would be my request that you get a local appraiser who knows our local values and does a local compilations and does a land appraisal, not a cash flow appraisal. I'm really concerned about the price. Would like you to probe behind the appraisal, come up with some answers that I've brought up. Thank you.
Could we get you to fill out a card so we can get in touch with you?
I didn't have anything to say. I came down here, nothing.
Sorry,
what he
sir,
said.
name and
But what he
address for
just
your record.
said-
Sir, name
So
and
that-
address,
Do
name
what?
and address for the record, please.
Oh, my name's Gary Armstrong, 109 East Ward Street.
Thank you.
And what they were just talking about, that building's not made, the construction isn't what I would use for hardware stuff. You need hard surfaces, concrete floors, shit on the walls that's metal or whatever, excuse my language. But that is certainly not the right building for that kind of use. It's hard use with possibility of bed bugs, other diseases and stuff. But I'm here because I have that property on Ward Street. And it's been under assault from my neighbor for several years. And my investment is the only thing I have. If I
Sir,
lose it,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but is this related to the Villager Inn?
no.
Okay, then there'll be a point for comments at the end of our meeting that we'll need to table this comment.
Do me a favor. Turn the speakers up a little, because then I'll know what I'm
Yeah,
supposed to
okay,
be up here.
noted. Thank you, though. Sorry about that. There'll be a point at the end of the meeting for you to speak to this. Thank you.
Otis Williams, 1627 Yorkshire Court. As a board member of the Shelter Inc., I have been down there several times talking about the homeless situation in Springfield. I have talked to Brian, I have talked to Shannon. Getting rid of the tent city is a very good thing, but this application here, it revolve around Springfield becoming more in control of the homeless situation. We're here as a body to help oversee or help work with the city to get this thing done, because we do it every day. That tent city's gone, but as the weather changes, you will see other little places prop up. Our goal, and I hope the city's goal, as they always say, forward together. Keep this goal going. Understand what these people feel, but make them understand what you're trying to do is make Springfield better for everybody, not just one area. Thank you.
I just think it's worth the drop in here that the Villager Inn property, if this becomes a shelter that we intend it to be, is for families and children, not individuals. Okay? I mean, it just needs to be clear. We're talking about broken families with children that need shelter, that need a safe place, not a congregate place to be. Individual displaced folks tend to go to congregate shelters at times. I mean, when those are available. So we're talking about families. We're talking about children. I know everybody in this room does not want to see children and families intense or in homeless situations. So the city again has, I know the price is in debate from the public, but this is an effort to see families and children have a safe place to be during the cold months. They don't have a home to be at. This is a good opportunity. And it's something is right before us. It's a great opportunity. And I will be voting yes to pass this.
Go up to the microphone. You can't speak from there.
1 minute. I would also like to know who the sellers are. And are the sellers, do they have any it's a corporation as I understand it. And do they have any relationship to the folks that they bought the property from? And I'd like to just investigate that chain of title a little bit.
I can have our Assistant Law Director, Jason Irick, connect with you after this meeting and share that information with you.
Anybody else? Name and address for the record.
My name's Melissa Good, and I live at 1129 West Jefferson. I know there's a homeless problem in this town. I see it every day. I volunteer at a food pantry. I talk to the school bus drivers that bus these kids around from these homeless houses or wherever, motels, whatever you want to call them. And the parents are not involved unless you get these people some help mentally, physically, spiritually, some type of help. This situation is not going to change. This is a Band-Aid on a wound. You're putting them in someplace just to get them off the street, but you're not giving them the help they need. They need legit help. Yeah, they need a house or a roof over their heads, but they need some help. If you're not going to long-term invest and help them get from this motel to a house and a normal life, it's not going to do any good. You're spending $1.7 million for really a Band-Aid, and I'm sorry, but that's just the truth because I see it. I hear from the school bus drivers. I see the people who are hungry, and this is just not a long-term solution, in my opinion.
Just a minute, he wants to respond to you.
I want you to know that I agree with some of you're saying, but what we're looking at is to provide a basic need.
I understand that.
And I really do hear you, and I agree. This is not a permanent solution for these
It
broken
shouldn't
families.
be. I mean, you can't just put them there and forget them and not help them. I'm sorry.
But what I'm simply saying is, I really do. I understand exactly what you're saying. And yes, it's a much larger issue, and mental health does need to play in. And actually, our community does have a lot of organizations that do come together and help these folks, especially when they need help. I think Brian wants to weigh in, but I just want to say I do hear that and I agree with that. But we are talking about a basic need that we believe as a city we can meet at this level.
Yeah, and I can assure you that those conversations and that help is coming. You know, Otis spoke earlier about Sheltered Inc. and their services. There is a team that has been formed together that includes mental health, it includes Sheltered Inc., it includes Nehemiah from a faith side to pull, and it is about wraparound services, the whole gamut, not just shelter. Shelter's a piece of it. And we never alluded that this is the end-all be-all solution. It is one tool that needs to be in place. We need the capacity, the infrastructure for the shelter component of it, but we have the case management, the mental health services, and other wraparound services that are needed and necessary to help people thrive.
If we don't do anything, then this room will be filled with people coming back and talking about why aren't we doing anything about these homeless families in our community. If tents lined up and down the street, as we've seen in other larger communities, or if there was some sort of disorganized, chaotic response to homelessness that people just have to find shelter, there would be a bigger problem. This is an opportunity for, as Otis said, have some control over the environment and provide some guidance for these folks to get them maybe to the next step. And it's imperfect. It's not perfect. It's imperfect. But it's a great effort that we can do as a city.
I could comment. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm the former superintendent of schools for this city. We had this problem when I was superintendent. It wasn't as severe as it is now because of COVID. primarily the homeless population were single men and single women. Now we have families that find themselves, for whatever reason, in this particular predicament. The school district, with all of its resources, can't do it alone. I agree. The city, with all of its resources, can't do this alone. Shelter Inc., with all the resources, can't do it alone. This has to be a community effort where we pull together to provide the services that these families, children, and individuals need. This is providing one need. That's all. That's inadequate. I agree. We must, in fact, as a community, come together, and we are, and provide the services that these folks need. But I know it was 50 degrees today, but it's not going to stay 50 degrees. This is Ohio. And so I think there's an urgency to this so that we can help get some families off the street and provide the services, the other services that they critically need. I agree with what you're saying. We as a community need to respond.
I just want to say one last thing. I just don't want to see a permanent one family like stay there forever for their whole life. You know, it has to transition, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah, I think we agree.
Yeah.
All right.
Name, address for the record.
I'm Riley, 22 East Clark Street. I was just coming here for something totally different tonight. Seems to really speak out to me. What this allows us to do with the Villager Inn is to have a contact point with the children and their families, because in mental health studies, children rebound from trauma faster if they're allowed to play. And having a place that is safe to play would then help them be able to go through the trauma, which we all agree of being homeless is a very traumatic incident. So we have to have a starting point, and it has to be somewhere. It has to cost something to move on, unless you want to just have meetings and have everything else. We've been working for 5 years with kids down at Hayward. And I know the city. Thank you.
Well, I only have one comment. You know, the property that's being talked about right now is currently, before the city of Springfield decided to purchase it, has been being used pretty much for exactly what we're going to use it for homeless people who have lost their home through foreclosures and things like that. I get calls every week, and it was transition. Is it a perfect situation for the people that were currently living there? No, but it is a situation. They're not on the street. And the next one that you were looking at that has been proposed to us has also been being used for the exact same thing, a temporary place for people to reboot. So again, I don't think the city is creating anything that isn't already there. In fact, we're making it, I think if we have more control over it, which we will have, it will be a better facility for the people in the neighborhood. But again, I think, and I quite frankly feel that we'll save money, that we won't be using all the hotel rooms that we've been using through Springfield over the last 2 years. Is that pretty accurate, Shannon? Okay. So again, and when you talk about the 1.7, I agree with you. It probably is a lot more money than if it were in a normal market, then that place would sell for. However, it's an investment. If and when that place goes away for being used for what it's going to be used for, think about where it's located. It's located on the west side of West North Street, and it's all commercial on that side of the street, a 4-lane highway. One of the first 4-lane highways that came through Springfield. So again, I think it's a proper use for what we're trying to accomplish in the city of Springfield. Thank you.
Brian, is there anything you could speak to executive in? I just feel like there's some confusion there. And
Yeah, I know it was mentioned. That's something that staff has looked at and still considering as another opportunity to address short-term needs within our community, but long-term economic development opportunities as well. But nothing's finalized yet, and we continue to work through that process.
But I think it's definitely an appropriate use.
I think it's hard to be the neighborhood where this is starting. And that's what you're responding to. I think we can tell you that we will do everything we can to not create the kind of issues that you're worried about. But we're also looking at other locations. But somehow people have got to have a place to live. And having people and kids in tents in wintertime is morally wrong. It's just wrong. So I think we got to find solutions. And I don't know if this is the best solution, but I think it's better than what has been the solution. So we'll keep working at it. Anyone else want to speak to the guy with Mike?
Thanks. I don't want to belabor anything. I just want you to understand, we understand what the building has been used for. We're telling you exactly what we put up with and what we, want. The gentleman who's been the owner has been a fairly good neighbor. We want that to continue. My question to you is, who do we reach out to as this process, is going on? Because we do want to keep a watch on things. We want families to have a good place. I said that in there. We want to be a good neighbor. We want them to be a good neighbor. To do that, we want to know who do we reach out to and who can we speak to as this process is going along? Because from what I understand, you're doing the business end, but you're not doing the day-to-day end. That's the people we want to know so we can talk to. We understand, is people that need a hand up, leg up, whatever. We understand that. We just want you to understand what we've put up with and lived and what we don't want to continue.
And in this debate and that we've talked,
Well,
I don't think anybody in here everybody believes people need shelter and help. So, I'm not saying anybody that has spoken, I know everybody knows that homeless folks need a place to rest there safely. So just want to make sure that's clear.
And again, we're going to work with our various housing partners and providers, but the main one on this property will be Sheltered Inc. And they are working on what their operational plan is as we haven't closed on this property. We're still waiting for commission to approve it before we even schedule closing and so forth. So there'll be some time, but Sheltered Inc. Would be the direct point of contact once operation at the facility begins. The city's going to continue to partner. We don't just let our partners hang out there to dry. We will continue to be a partner with this, with improvements and so forth that do need to be made to the property. There was a question about building inspections. We've had our inspectors, we've had our code inspectors, we've had our building regulations staff through this facility, the various buildings that make up the facility, and so forth. So Sheltered Inc. in short, but you can reach out to us as well.
In fact, Otis, perhaps after the meeting, you might give her your contact information with Sheltered Inc. And certainly Brian can give you a card in terms of how to reach him in terms of the city. We think communication is critically important during this whole process. This is, we've said, is a starting point. It's not the end, it's the beginning. And we've got work to do as a community. But now know Springfield well enough to know what we're capable of when we pull together.
Mm-hmm.
And we are capable of great things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we hope this is the beginning of.
Okay. Anything else to come before us? What? Okay, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Estra,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
right, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Des Incorporated for professional consulting services relating to the City Hall parking garage repairs and plaza redesign Phase 3 project for an amount not to exceed $75,800.
So moved.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
I know I asked this question, but I want to make sure everybody's clear on it. We're not talking about the new city garage on Fountain. We're not experiencing issues with that. It's this garage under this facility that we're talking about.
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner.
Okay. And you might talk about what the issue is that's really causing us to do.
Yeah, so the expansion joint, as well as the rubber membrane that goes with that, has reached it's beyond its useful life, and it needs to be repaired. The garage leaks like a sieve, and definitely needs to be repaired. So we will be doing that, hopefully in conjunction with a plaza redesign project. But we need bidders because we bid it once and received no bids. So it will be back on the street again, and hopefully have some competitive bids that we can move forward with this project.
Thank you.
What else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes?
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the acceptance of various donations, Horticulture Fest 2022.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving an amendment with American Transmission Systems Incorporated to provide for the modification of the lines park.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estra?
Yes?
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing therefore and
Move to adopt.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes?
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorized on providing appropriations, various funds.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorized city manager to enter into agreement with Greater Spring Area Commission and Business Bureau Incorporated to provide funding from of the lodging tax levied of Ohio Revised Code Section 5709 and declaring an emergency therein.
Move to adopt. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Wondering if staff might explain exactly what we're doing here.
Yeah, so commission, the state levies what's a hotel motel tax or lodging tax that's collected by local governments, specifically us, the municipality. Part of that requires the operation of a Convention and Visitors Bureau. And so this is an agreement with the Greater Springfield Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, who operates that CVB for our community to receive a portion of the funds that are collected from that lodging tax that is levied.
Very good. Thank you.
And to just be more specific, all the events you usually see downtown are pretty much governed by them. Is that correct?
That is
Money
correct.
And they use that money in order to do that. Bring
That is
people
correct.
downtown.
Yes.
And by the way, downtown's looking great.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Call the roll.
Dr. Estra?
Yes?
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorized city manager to enter into a 10-year contract with Greater Spring Visitors Bureau Incorporated for the purpose of establishing a downtown event program position in an amount not to exceed $300,000, emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
I do have a question. A 10-year contract covers the aggregate 300,000. It's not 300,000 a year.
No.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
correct. The total
All right.
of this agreement would be 300,000 at 30,000 a year for 10 years.
Ryan, who will this person or entity be, working for?
Yeah, so the Greater Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau actually has a position that's already filled.
Okay.
Ashton Hausman is the current downtown event programmer. She's been with them a short time. Previously was John Kelly, who did move on to another a job, but they were able to replace with Ashton, and Ashton's been doing a phenomenal job of organizing and collaborating on the various events that have been going on downtown.
Else? Call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
confirming and approving change order number 2 to the contract between the city and Peterson Construction Company for the primary effluent pumps replacement electrical upgrades project to increase the contract amount not to exceed $172,000 for a total amount not to exceed $7,696,300 and authorizing the city manager to execute order 2 and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes. That concludes our agenda. Are there other items come before us?
I just would like the opportunity to, and I hope we can get them here at some point, to congratulate the Springfield High Wildcats. There is no question they are the best public school football team, Division I, big schools in the state of Ohio. Congratulations, Cats. Go Cats. Yeah.
Anything else from commissioners? Anyone in the audience want to address us?
Otis Williams, 1627 Yorkshire Court. I just want to say, it was very interesting to hear these different people voice their opinions about homelessness. We know this has been an issue and it's growing. What we did now is try to find a solution to help slow it. It's not going to stop because the economy, the way this country is moving right now. We have a lot of people here that don't want shelter. They will be living on the street, regardless of what trying to help try to push and give. I appreciate Shannon, Brian, commissioners, and everybody else involved help trying to make this go forward. Springfield can live by its slogan, forward. Yes. Thank you. Be good to your neighbor.
Anybody else? Name and address for the record.
My name is Gary Armstrong, 109 East Ward Street. My concerns are about the old Geyer furniture. Who's got it? What are they? What's the use? They're doing remodeling that is not really anything professional. Who's pulling permits,
I'm
submitting
sorry, who are you
drawings?
talking about?
The old Geyer Furniture Building. I think it's 629 North Limestone.
Okay, got it.
So that's one issue. I'd like to set up and talk to the commission on some concerns. Because on Ward Street, we got a couple lots there. It's a multifamily area. Somebody allowed to walk in and build a 6-unit. There's no parking. We should have a ordinance or restrictions that says you have to have off-street parking driveways for every new structure. Go down Northern Heights area, Castley, Mason, can't even get down the street. But then straight across the street from me, there's a single family in the last 2 years turned into a 4-unit. Not one permit, not one drawing. What's up with that? That really takes the property value of my house down because there's 10 cars over there now. And they're parking on the grass of a lot that's for sale by Wittenberg. I've been working to get my house done. The only investment I got left in my last rehab, and I've done many in the last 45 years. And I always improve the area of the property and the value. Now I got somebody who doesn't play by the rules, and I have to take the hit. That's what I want to sit and talk about, some of these issues on how we do, or the ordinances we do allow, what are we going to allow? Can they put 4 units in that area? I know it's going to be a multifamily, but I'd like to know, I haven't checked that, but there are multifamily units. The house I bought from the Woods Alger Estate was a single family that was turned into a duplex when I purchased it. It's still a duplex. But going downtown and not doing anything to legally turn it into a 4-unit and put all those cars on the street, it's totally irresponsible. And it concerns me more than greatly. Takes money out of my pocket. So knowing about what's going to go in, because I'm 100 feet from the Geyer building. So I already have traffic that blocks the parking lot of the, Guitar Attention Center. Now it's a boutique. They have a 5 or 6 space lot. On a busy weekend or St. Patrick's, there'll be cars all over there. I can't get in my own driveway. They'll have double rows in the neighbor's lot, have me blocked out. And then the person that's blocked in on their lot will go through my backyard and out my driveway. Besides beer bottles about every week for the last 10 years, defecation, urination by my garage from young kids from Wittenberg going over and getting drunk. I mean, I've just gone through a lot, but now this change of use of the Geyer and this 4-unit being pulled out of the air, totally inappropriate. And it's like I say, when I build stuff, and I've built stuff for many people, I always take the neighbor in consideration. If you don't take care of the people that are in the neighborhood, you just don't have much empathy for them. And I feel like now, and that's not being done to me. I'm taking, the other side is stepping on me and stomping my investment. Like I say, it's my last one. It'll go to my kids, but hopefully I can finish the house and have a beautiful property for him to inherit, and me not be in a cardboard box. Because if I don't get it done, I couldn't afford to go out at the prices of everything now, build another house. I'm at the end of my term. So I need to be able to finish this and not be encroached upon by somebody who's not playing by the rules. So if I could have next week and a time where I could sit down and look at ordinances and how we build on lots in older neighborhoods so that we don't jam up the roads that are already jammed up. The older structures we got, people didn't even have cars. My dad was a city fireman and my uncle. We didn't have a car until 1955. I was 5 years old then, but I had 2 older sisters. But now everybody's got 2 cars. So can we go into a neighborhood and build multi-units? What restrictions and what are we going to allow? That's what I want to talk about.
Could you give your contact information to the clerk and we'll have to get in touch with you?
All righty. You have one of these cards that I can fill out? On here?
Anyone else want to talk to us? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrad?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.